The Victorian government states that science should be taught through all primary school levels in ways that engage the students, encourage students, and inform students about the physical, technological, and biological world around them. I have chosen to make a digital learning product on the diversity of Indigenous uses for plants and how students can grow them at school or in their gardens at home. Today we'll be learning about the biological science concept, the study of plants, and in particular, how they're used by Indigenous Aboriginals. Aboriginals found many uses for plant life throughout Australia. Today we take a trip to the Royal Botanical Gardens in Cranbourne and the Systems Garden at Melbourne University to learn more. Indigenous Aboriginals used plants for many different things. Let's start with bush tucker. Here's an example here. There was also the matted bush pea, a sort of blueberry with a slight lemon flavour. There was also the succulent pig nose, which was a high source of water and liquid during those drought seasons. The rainforest pearl finger lime, deliciously edible and does have fruit a lot of times of the year. Here's a wild plum, which although is quite rare these days to find out in the wild, can still be found. The Aboriginals would use this plum and mix with nectars to make a sort of drink. Now we have some edible tubers. Aboriginals would wait until they were mature enough, and that would almost be like having some sort of a potato, that carbohydrate. Here we have the lily pilly. The fruit is a bright pink colour, sweet and juicy, but can also be very sour just before it's ripe. And finally, this last example is common named the drumsticks, because the fruit does look in fact like a drumstick with a bigger head there. The macadamia tree. Its nuts are a rich source of antioxidants. The Aboriginals use oil from these leaves to treat colds and other sort of chest sicknesses. The nectar was used to make a sweet drink from the flowers. And the wood was used to make tools, weapons of that nature. This eucalyptus here, wooden bowls were made from it. They were also used for transporting, storing food, water, collecting, and sometimes the end was sharpened and it was used for digging. The common name, red stringing bark, provided bark and timber to make tools, shelters. Rope was be able to made as well as string, and it was used often to make fire because it was easy to pull off and quite dry. The Grand Elders, they often held spiritual significance to Aboriginal tribes and could be used in crafting different tools and spears. Everything about this plant is used by Aboriginals. The root and bark are used medicinally to treat headache, toothache and other wounds. The bark was also used to treat liver trouble and things of that nature. Headaches, fevers, was also calmed by boiling the young leaves. This example of river mint is also used by Aboriginals for cooling medicinal purposes. The nickname of this plant is the bottle tree, and for good reason. Aboriginals bore into the inside of the trunk to unlock a reservoir of water during those dry seasons. Seasoned roots and stems were also a high source of food, and the inner bark could even be used to make string, fishing nets and rope. This tree here, its trunk being long and thin, was used for making spears, and the bark was used as a poison to kill fish. Another type of wild plum, but this time growing in a very wide and broad small shrub. Found on the east coast of Australia is another variety of wild plum. The berries themselves are high in vitamin C and antioxidants. Some investigations and groundwork done before the excursion today will teach students about what they're looking for with the different plants and more about the surroundings and the history of the Aboriginal culture. Teachers can encourage their schools to plant more native plants to attract wildlife, a native plant-only area on school grounds, or even possibly a bush tucker area. One example of bush tucker is the delicious Casa Blue. It's a very hardy shrub, it sprouts delicious berries, and its leaves can be used for weaving. The plant itself can be purchased from Bunnings for very little money, and students can take turns whose turn is it to water, put it in the sun, bring inside, and so on. Today's investigation could also be dovetailed into students learning more about how plants work. Students could copy leaves, drawing around them on pieces of paper, following the veins and learn how they absorb nutrients, how they absorb sunlight, and how some Australian plants have evolved in order to suit their harsh surroundings. These investigations into biological science coincide with the following Victorian curriculum standards: Aboriginal culture and history, understanding the world around us, how we can use nature's resources, and the general science rationale. But students can also learn history, cooking, geography, all from this one science investigation. Aboriginal traditions and history are to be taught. Teachers and schools must contact the Victorian Aboriginal Education Association. Local Aboriginal communities must be involved in the teaching of their culture and their history to ensure their legacy lives on accurately. All of the investigations mentioned in this video can be adapted for students in any level of primary school. With so much in our busy curriculum already, it makes sense to give students the joy of understanding how biology, adaptation, and Indigenous uses of plants work whilst incorporating our history, culture, and geography.